the most commonly used seventh chords. Are you ready to go, Dan?
Yeah.
Okay, so are the 2/7, the 6/7, and the 7 half diminished 7. Okay, so those are our really, again, besides this one, those are the most often used ones. The 1/7 and the 4/7 are major 7 chords. And yeah, in the book actually they use 1m7, or 4m7. And they tend to function not like the dominant 7. They tend to function, this mi becomes a leading tone to fa, or this ti becomes a leading tone to do, rather than the 7th resolving down by step. So they're not often used in classical, traditional common practice harmony. And then the other one, the 3/7, it's just a minor 7th. It might be a possibility, but because the 3 chord is not often used, it just doesn't come up a lot. Now, in minor, you have a similar situation. The 2/7 is fairly commonly used, but in this case, the 2 is the half diminished 7. Okay? Because in minor, you've got this A flat, right? So that's a diminished triad with a minor 7th on top. But it's used and functions just like a 2/7 in major. In minor, the 6 becomes a major 7th, and so that's not often used. But the other one that shows up is this one. Now, diatonically in C minor, this chord, if I don't do any alterations, in other words, I don't do any harmonic or melodic, this chord is a B flat dominant 7th chord, right? And so, written this way, we would use that B flat dominant 7th as a dominant 7th. Where would B flat go? Like a B flat dominant 7th, where is that going to take me? To what key or what other note?
Probably to the 1.
Well, but yeah, so let me put it another way. Where B flat is the dominant 7th, B flat is the 5/7 in what key? E flat, right, yeah. So this B flat is going to function more like a dominant 7th of the 3 chord, right, the E flat chord. And in fact, when we get into what are called secondary dominants, rather than call it 7/7, we'll call it 5/7 of 3. Does that make sense? In other words, this chord, the B flat dominant 7th, resolving to the 3 chord in C minor. Does that make sense to you? Because what it's like, so in C minor it's this, but in E flat major, it's this. So it's one of those instances where minor kind of borders on major sometimes. Okay? But more often than not, in a minor key, most of the time, what you'll do is you'll raise that leading tone, right? Tonic. And that gives us a completely different chord. So instead of a B flat dominant 7th, now what is this? With a B natural, D, F, and A flat.
B minor? Like
B diminished. And is it a half diminished or a fully diminished?
Fully diminished.
Fully diminished, yeah, it's a B fully diminished 7th chord. So that is, in C minor, that's 7 diminished 7. And that's going to function as a leading tone to the tonic chord. Okay? And so actually this is the one you'll see more often than this one. But I just want to make you aware that that's out there. And when it's spelled this way, it's going to function like a dominant of the 3 chord. But when it's spelled like this, with the raised leading tone, it's going back to 1. unless we're in harmony 3. Then, I mean, the fully diminished seventh chords are very flexible. They can go a lot of different places because they're made up of major thirds, right? They're 3 major thirds stacked up upon each other. And so those major thirds, or minor thirds, sorry. They're 3 minor thirds stacked up on top of each other. And so that structure allows them to be very flexible. Also, so within the fully diminished seventh chord, there are 2 tritones, right? There's the B to F, and there's the D to A flat. So that's why it's a very dissonant chord. That's why it's very unstable, because it's really made up of 2 tritones interlocked together. And that's why it can also go to different places and function as different things. So the fully diminished seventh chord, we can resolve that a lot of ways. We can resolve it there. I can also resolve it to flat or well, sometimes they use that. A lot of different ways that can resolve, because it's technically each of these notes is a leading tone to something. Right? Potentially. We want to get it done.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, wait a minute. So everybody okay on the different sevenths? Just in major, we're going to deal mostly with the 2 and the 6 and the 7 half diminished. And in minor, it's the 2 half diminished and the 7 fully diminished. Those are the other diatonic seventh chords that are used. Otherwise, not a lot of these other ones are used. Like the 6, 7 in minor, it's a major seventh, so it's just not really used in minor. All right, so just to give you an idea of what diminished triads are all about, if I take this diminished triad, B, D, F, and A flat, then that really forms a leading tone to C, right? That B is a leading tone to C. If I spell it this way, or if I spell it inharmonically, let's do that because that will make more sense. So if I take that B, put it up on the top, and spell it inharmonically, it becomes a leading tone to this note. Right? I haven't really changed how the chord sounds. I've just taken B, moved it up on top, and spelled it as C flat. But now it's a D fully diminished seventh, and that tends to resolve to E flat. If I take the F and put it on the bottom, and do this. Then that's an F fully diminished seventh, and that tends to go to G flat. And since I don't want to do something really ridiculous like do A flat leading to B double flat, I'll respell the A flat as G sharp, and then that will become a leading tone to A. It's all the same chord. I'm just putting it in different, I'm just moving the bottom note to the top, and then the next note becomes leading tone to the next note. So this one chord could take you to C minor or C major, it could take you to E flat, it could take you to G flat, or it could take you to A. All these different places, just by respelling it. And that's one of the big things about classical or traditional harmony you'll find, is how it's spelled is really important. So in other words, this chord with the G sharp in it would never be used in the key of E flat as a leading tone to E flat, because it's not spelled to resolve that way. You need that G sharp spelled to resolve up as a leading tone to A. If it's going to be an E flat, it's going to be spelled as an A flat, so that you have that fa to mi resolution. You see what I'm saying? In traditional harmony, the spelling is everything. And composers will always spell it as it's going to resolve, or almost always. And you'll see their intent in the way they spell these chords. So, but the fully diminished seventh chord, really, it's very flexible, can take you a lot of different places. And one of the topics covered in Harmony 3 is to talk about all these different spellings of fully diminished seventh chords and where they can eventually take you and modulate. You know, you can modulate doing that. Okay, so let's go back to the different sevenths. Now, so if we're writing them in terms of part writing, and let's say we have a 2/7